In this lesson, we are going to learn how the layer system works and how we can use it for character creation. The vast majority of digital drawing programs operate using a layer system. It's a system through which changes are organized in different levels or layers independently. This means that the changes you make on one layer do not affect the other layers. Let's see what happens if I try to draw on my reference layer. Initially, there's no problem, but if I try to erase what I've done, I'll also erase the reference layer because I'm working on a single layer. This is not the end of the world because I could painstakingly redo the changes to restore the original image, or even better, I could use Ctrl-Z to undo the changes and return to the original state. However, working with layers can greatly accelerate this process and allows us to carry out a multitude of tests without fear of damaging the reference image, which proves extremely useful when trying out different designs on our characters. Everything we need to work with layers can be found here, below to the right, in the Layers panel. If for some reason you can't see this panel, you can activate it in the window menu, Layer. Remember that you can change the size and position of the panels by clicking on their edges and dragging the mouse. This is an extremely important panel, so I always have it visible and accessible. Let's start by removing this layer at the bottom, which we don't need. To select a layer, just click on it. Now we can press the trash can icon here to the right to delete it. Alternatively, we can also right-click on the layer we want to delete and press Delete Layer. Very well. Now let's select the reference layer and change its name. This is not essential, but it can help us to keep the layers organized and easily locatable. To change the name of a layer, double-click on it. Type the name you want to give it and press Enter to accept the changes. Perfect. Now let's create a new layer. To create a layer, we need to click on the first icon of this group of icons above the layer thumbnails. This first icon is called New Raster Layer. If we click on the icon, a new layer will appear above the existing layers. We can rename this new layer by double-clicking on it, just as we saw earlier. Excellent. Now we can start working with layers. If we select the new layer by clicking on it, we turn it into the active layer. It seems that nothing has changed in our workspace, but if we go to our work area and make any change, it will only apply to the active layer, leaving the other layers untouched. It seems a bit complicated to explain, but it's very easy to understand with an example. Suppose I want to try making a change to this character, for example, adding a scar. To do it, I select the Pen tool from the Tool panel, or, even better, using the assigned shortcut, the B key in my case. With the Pen tool selected, I proceed to draw the scar on my character. More or less like this. It's just an example, so you could draw anything else. Sunglasses, makeup, it doesn't matter. Well, this is the scar. I don't like it very much, to be honest. Luckily, the original image without the scar remains intact. To verify this, just hide the scar layer by clicking on the eye icon to the left of its thumbnail, here. This little eye icon makes the layer visible or invisible. When a layer is invisible, it has not been deleted, it's still there, but we just can't see it. If we really want to delete the layer, we have to do it as we have learned earlier, pressing the trash can button or right-clicking and delete layer. It's important to be aware that the visibility of the layers depends on their vertical hierarchical organization. This means In other words, that the layers located above will be visible over the lower layers. Let me show it with an example. In this case, the scar is visible because the scar layer is above the face layer, but let's see what happens if I change the order of the layers. To change the order of a layer, just drag the layer to the new position. As we can see, by putting the head layer above the scar layer, the scar is not visible because it's covered by the head. The scar is still there, as we can verify by hiding the head layer, but it's not visible anymore because the top layer is larger. Similarly, if I create a new layer above the scar, for example a band-aid, it will be visible above the scar. The principle is simple, but very important. Upper layers obstruct the lower ones. Another extremely useful aspect of working with layers applied to design and character creation is the opacity value, which is determined by this slider at the upper right of the layer panel. If we select any of the layers and move the slider to the left, we will reduce the opacity of the layer according to the numerical value chosen. Alternatively, we can click on this numerical value and type a new value directly. For example, this is how the layer looks if we adjust the opacity to 25%. For the moment, that is all we need to know about layers. I know there are many icons and functions left to explain. We will see them later. For now, these three concepts, layer organization, hierarchy, and opacity, are all we need. Surely, you're already imagining all the possibilities that layer work offers when designing characters, trying out different hairstyles, accessories, facial features, expressions. Later on, we will explore all these possibilities, but for now, let's use these properties to continue with our sketching process. In the next lesson, we will use the layer organization and the tools we've learned about to finally sketch the first draft of our character's head. As a practice activity, I recommend that you practice abstracting basic shapes and schematic proportions from the references you have selected. If you do this exercise based on a reference, this activity will also help you learn to manage layers. Remember to adjust the opacity parameters to modify the reference layer. Also, keep in mind that you can change the color to make it easier to distinguish the reference layer from the editable layer.